like you learned about your team? You already talked about before this, 3-game road trip, what you were going to learn with their habits, and just what do you feel like you saw from them?
Yeah, I do definitely think we're getting better. I think the best part about the trip, this was a long trip, but it kind of hit me on the trip that, hey, we have a lot of seniors. So enjoy the moments you have with them. And they're such a fun team to be around, especially around the holidays before you're going for a break. So just making sure that as a coach, you soak up the moments with the players you don't have a lot of time with left. And that's unique, as we haven't been around each other very long, but just still enjoying those moments.
You said on the radio that you're going to have some hard practices, because I know they got a few days off and they come back from home cooking and naps and all that fun stuff. How have they adjusted to being back in basketball mode?
Good. They have done well. Their energy and effort is really all we've been looking at the last 2 days. We'll kind of tighten it up today, but their feet hurt. They have been going hard, but they've responded pretty well.
What are some of the things that you want to see from them in this last game before SEC play?
Yeah, I think our rebounding needs to get better going into SEC. I think we need to get stronger. I think we need to do a better job at 50-50 balls, and then just continue to clean up the half-court defense and the shot selection.
The team's getting a lot of outside praise, top 15 in the AP poll. How do you handle that internally?
And we don't really talk about it. We just keep doing what we're doing.
Are you happy with the different ways the press has kind of made impacts, especially, you talked about after Richmond, they were 40% shooting, 3-point team, and their legs were tired. They didn't shoot that well today, or just different ways that's manifested. Is that kind of what you want it to look like at this point in the season?
Yeah, it's always going to look different, and it's going to take a different toll on different teams. And so that's something I'm used to, so it's good for our players to see that.
As a coach, when you have a little break like this, do you get away, or is this a self-scout time for you to kind of reshuffle, hey, where we at as we get ready to go in? How do you manage the holidays in 3 or 4 days?
A little bit of both. You never really turn it off. So you go home, you spend time with family, and then you sneak to your computer every now and then just to do your next scout, watch your film, make sure you have it clipped up, making sure you're looking at the stat lines and seeing what needs improvement.
When you look at that, is there something that jumps out to you through the first month plus of the season that maybe wasn't initially there when you're in the day-to-day grind, that you look at and go, hey, okay, we're better here, we need to work on this?
Yeah, our percentages are going up, our shooting percentage is going up, our half-court defense is getting better, so we're holding people to a lower percentage. I still think our rebound margin is not where it should be playing the opponents we have played, so that's an area of concern going forward.
But that's how it's supposed to work, right? You said in the preseason it would be pretty early, but by the time you get to conference play, people would have it figured out. Or
yeah,
pretty close to that?
I think so. I just think, again, possession-wise, rebound-wise, that is something that unfortunately they're going to have to lose that battle before they take me seriously.
What was the greatest takeaway from having that tough stretch of 3 games, 4 days?
It was good. We were sore. We were tired. We didn't get off to great starts either game, but we had a lot of fun. We got something from everyone, and so it was a good trip.
What is some of the advice you give the players when they do go home, maybe for a day or two for the holidays? Anything that you want them to continue to think about or work on, or do you kind of just let them go and let them do their own thing?
Yeah, so I think we had 4 days off. They definitely needed 2 straight days off after that game of not doing anything. I encouraged them to pick one day and do something, or they were going to be miserable when they came back. I did not follow through. You can kind of tell who did what and who didn't, but I did give them that advice and said, ask any former player I've ever had, pick one day, do something, and you'll be okay.
Do you call them out if you notice that maybe they're
They just don't make their times, so they call themselves out.
Where do you feel like your team is at health-wise coming off of this break?
I think we're good. Practices have been hard, so everyone's a little bit sore just from practice, but coming back, it was a break that they needed.
You're now going to meet the third meet, the royalty of Lady Vol. You got to see Tamika Catchings when she came here. You met Shamika Hall in New York. Now Samika Randall brings her team here. What do you see from the Eagles? Have you had time to take kind of an in-depth look at them?
Yeah, I think that they're going to be a tough team. They can play in transition. They're going to switch up their defenses on us, which is something we need at this point. And then they're very good at getting to the rim, driving and dishing, and so making sure that we are making those backside rotations down. And that will be good for us going into league play too, because I think we'll see that a lot going forward.
Mentioning that, how do you think your team has been able to adjust and gain with these 3 different opponents you faced those last 4 days, and then getting ready for a team that will switch up its defenses on you?
They adjust pretty well. I was impressed by that, of not having a lot of prep time. Thankfully, Tulsa and Richmond were very similar. They played kind of a 5-out, similar offense, so that was easy for us. We didn't really have to change up a lot of going against a man in the zone and then a press. But we didn't have any prep whatsoever. We didn't have a shoot around or a practice time going from Richmond to Tulsa. So they did pretty well just by learning on the film and walking through what we could walk through in the hotel.
Is there anything that you look for outside of maybe team stats that you're looking for at this point in the season before conference play, or habits in practice, or anything you don't have to harp on anymore? Like, do you see things building in that sort of sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think our leadership could still get a little bit better going into conference play, just playing with more of a sense of urgency because it's time now to really see where we stand. And we will meet on that when we get back after this game.
I've often said the SEC, and I'm not looking ahead, I'm not asking for a scout of, A&M, anybody coming up, but it's a league for grown women.
Yes.
And Jill Spear, a year ago, had no idea what the SEC was like. Now she does. Obviously, Talasia does. You've got returning players. You've got Samara Spencer, who played at Arkansas. Are some of these other players going to have to see what the physicality and speed are? They just going to have to experience to understand how physical and fast this league is?
I think so, because we tell them you can't box this girl out. You're not going to be able to box someone in the SEC out. You can't do this. You can't grab a ball with two hands. Somebody else in the SEC is, and we have those conversations. And I obviously am part of the group that hasn't seen it, but I've seen enough film to know that we got to get stronger and more physical if we're going to be able to compete.
At the beginning of the season, you kind of mentioned how foul trouble in practice, they kind of thought that they didn't foul. How have you seen them take more accountability as the season has gone on and they have that game experience of knowing when they are in foul troubles and are fouling?
Yeah, I think thankfully it hasn't really hurt us yet. I still think we could do a better job of adjusting to officials, making sure, hey, they're calling the game tight. We have to kind of change the way we are playing a little bit, at least for a little while, maybe not for the whole game, but at least for the remainder of the quarter until the media, and just making those adjustments instead of getting so frustrated. I think our Memphis game, we did get really frustrated, and fouls became frustration fouls, which is something an area we need to grow in.
You mentioned at the beginning, enjoying the time with your seniors. I saw you guys did the gingerbread house competition. Just how sweet was that? Was there any, moments that you kind of cherished from that?
Yeah, I mean, just being around them in general is just fun. On the bus, they're telling jokes. On the way to the gym, when we get there early, we are always out, so we're sitting on the bench and they're sitting with us. And so just anytime we're around each other, we do have a good time. And it doesn't have to be scripted, it doesn't have to be planned.
Free throw shooting is just one of those vexing things sometimes. If you look at the stats, some players are really doing well, some players are struggling. How do you address that as a coach? And I'm wondering specifically, as you move into tougher competition and close games, does that free throw shooting affect sometimes who you can have on the floor late in a tight game?
Yeah, it does. And it's definitely an area that's gotten worse recently. You talk about looking at stats. That's something we talked about in game of our 3-point shooting percentages or foul shooting percentage has gotten bad maybe the last 4 or 5 games. It's not something we really talk about. They don't want to get in their heads. We'll just practice it more and encourage them to get more shots up.
You mentioned the seniors, but Kanaya, how have you seen her grow in her freshman year?
Yeah, she's big. She's had 2 really good days of practice, and just making sure that she has confidence. I think it's my job to make sure our true freshman has confidence and knows that. And so there's been a few games where I think she has maybe shied away from competition, and then we've just tried to pour into her and be like, hey, you're on the floor for a reason. You're really good. You're one of our best defenders, if not our best defender. Get out there and do what you do. And I think her last couple games showed that.
You mentioned leadership is kind of something you want to see grow. What would the ideal leadership out on the court or in practice look like to you?
Yeah, I think us having to repeat things less and them getting to what makes me mad before I have to say it. And they should know that by now, of just making sure that they're paying attention. Joel has done a really good job since she's come back of just making sure her team is on the same page, making sure they know the plays, making sure everyone on the floor knows the plays, but just making sure that they get to things before I do.
One thing you really need in your offense is somebody who can hit threes. Sarah Puckett has struggled up until the last game. How good was that to see Sarah just get back on track?
It was great. It was great. I knew it was only a matter of time, and so hopefully we can keep that momentum going forward. We need her.
Do you think those couple of games playing Coach Jewell kind of helped her when she got back into practice to be that leader?
Yeah, I do. I do think so. She played really well. She's pushing through some pain, and she looks even better now than she did in the last couple games, so that's good.
What have maybe some of those messages or conversations with Sarah Puckett been like as she kind of has had these ebbs and flows from the perimeter?
Yeah, just a lot of listening, telling her I believe in her. She wouldn't be on the floor if I didn't believe in her. To just go back to having fun and take all the pressure off of yourself. Young people nowadays have so much pressure from people that are not inside the program, or just internally. They don't like to fail, they miss one shot, and then they're in their head about it. And so just making sure that she could play a little more free.
I feel like the last 4 games, Z Spearman has been a lot more active on the boards. And, is there anything that you've seen that's kind of helped that click for her? Is she someone that you want to understand that she kind of sets the tone in that regard for you guys, or what kind of role do you want her to kind of embrace at being a rebounder on this team?
Yeah, I think she's our best offensive rebounder, so she needs to go do it consistently. I do think she could do it more. And Ruby also does a really good job of just going to the rim and getting them when we need them, when things aren't going our way, which really helped us, especially in the Memphis game, helped us on a little run there, as when those two just went and got offensive rebounds.
Where can Hollingshead take the next step?
She could rebound more too. That would be big. She looked really good the last couple games of being up in the front of the press. She's playing hard, but I think her rebound numbers for her size are really low.
Why do you think the chemistry on this team and the chemistry with you guys have clicked as quickly as it has?
I think one, I just got really lucky with the players that I inherited and the players we recruited, and also we just make it a safe, fun place where you can be yourself, you can say whatever you need to say. We're not going to judge you, we're not going to be on you, and we are who we are.
Is that an organic thing, or did you have like, not kumbaya moments, but you know what I'm saying? Did you
Yeah,
have,
I know what you're saying. It's organic. It happened on its own, and it happened very early. We just have a team with a big personality, which again is something I really love to have in my teams.
Does it feel like players like Samara Spencer have been with the program longer than just a couple of months, when you do look to like, hey, you know, we're getting ready to be in the second half of the season, let's appreciate and value like the seniors and the time we have left together?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously for me, I've coached them all the same amount, but you really can't tell who has been here and who has not been here. And I think that says a lot about the returners and the new players.
One more stats question. You mentioned this team shares the ball really well. I looked at the stats. Samara has 61 assists, Talasia 41, team 194. What really stood out with Samara was her assist to turnovers. It's 61 to 16. I mean, that's in a stratosphere. I mean, that's what you want from your point guard, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
And she could score, right? So ideally that's what we want out of all of our point guards. Somebody who doesn't turn it over very much. Somebody who can score, so you have to guard. She can push pace and she gets other people open. People love playing with her. And that's a testament to her too, because she didn't start the season that way. She was turning it over a lot in our scrimmages, a lot at the beginning of the year, and she's just kind of found her pace and found her role and gotten a lot better at that.
How much easier has it made it for you to have this senior team that's also so connected?
It's significantly easier. That we have so many seniors that want it and it means something, but that everyone that is here really wants to win and they want to do it right now.
Right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.